Guys, I'm on fire with my edging streak, like seriously, The summer 2024 anime has been a treat to watch. It's quite surprising how stacked this season is. From the content and the production values alone. Production value. Especially when it comes to animation and also direction, there's a lot of contenders here. But one show stood out more than the others in terms of sheer direction, stylistic choices, sakuga, and... Nige Jouzu no Wakagimi, or the Elusive Samurai, is a new series that's coming out from the Shota Umehara line in Cloverworks, one of the best team in anime from the sheer amount of sakuga they could pull off, which is mostly thanks to Umehara for constantly getting talented animators and directors in every project he leads as Annie. Content-wise, I do think it's nothing crazy. There's some complaints I have, like the pacing is a bit too fast. We just go to certain events pretty fast. I mean, it is more for shock values, but it would have been better if we have more screen time and added context about Tokiyuki and Takoji. I'm guessing he's the antagonist in this story, like the final boss. Another complaint is the tone in the show. Maybe the show is trying to be more lighthearted, but in an era where these type of events are very common, then it's a yeah. And they should just let the emotional moments hit when it needs to, but then Yorishige just keeps... I've recently discovered that this is the same author who did Assassination Classroom, so I know he can make the emotional moments hit, and I really like Assassination Classroom since it is like in my top 10 best anime series / movies. Anyways, the animation, the wiggly scene, the back shot. This team has been very consistently putting out high ambitious projects, and for this show, it's nothing different. The technical aspects of the animation is very impressive. They make the characters very three-dimensional, if you get what I mean. The way it's shaded, the shape of the line art, and the way it gives a lot of depth in the design. The fabric and hair animation itself is very complex and time-consuming probably. Of course, this team works with terrible scheduling. From previous projects, we saw what happened. It could be hospitalizing their own animation producer or making the show itself absolute trash, because usually these type of ambitious projects take at least 2+ years to cook, and the Umehara line only probably gets like a year plus production time. Also a concerning thing, the episode director / storyboarder for episode 3 used a pen name, which could be a red flag, but I'll keep my assumptions down in the mud for now. The character acting itself is already amazing, but the fabric moves a lot. Yes, the animator animates that part too, the fabric, the shading of it. Every single time where Tokiyuki moves a lot, the fabric also interacts with everything. Maybe you only care when the character moves or the budget, because you can just throw money on a piece of paper, then boom, animation moves a lot more. I'm just showcasing how technically impressive and the care of attention to detail that gets underappreciated. Same with like Chainsaw Man. While the action is great, I do think that's not the best thing in Chainsaw Man when talking about the animation. It's the character acting and the more mundane scenes. Like take this one frame, you might think it's just a shot with lip flaps, but just looking at Takoji's clothing, just conveying depth alone is hard enough, but the amount of accessories present in his costume is great. I'm not just talking about Takoji. Mostly every character has complex clothing. They also work with complex costumes, maybe for only like one of the costumes in My Dress Up Darling that moved quite a lot. The director Yuta Yamazaki is a regular in the Umehara line, storyboarding and directing some episodes in Wonder Egg Priority and My Dress Up Darling, but more importantly, he was assistant director for Wonder Egg. While the series director's track record is nothing crazy, the one I'm most interested in is the assistant director for Nige Jouzu, is Yusuke Kawakami. While he's an incredible animator, he definitely gets the spotlight more as a director and a storyboard artist in the Umehara projects. He was action director for Wonder Egg. He's credited as live director for Bocchi the Rock, and he did some of the performance, but his first time directing and storyboarding an episode was absolute cinema. My Dress Up Darling episode 8 was his debut, but it feels like he's just been doing this for a while. Now, he's the assistant director for the show, and he did episode 2. We'll talk about that soon. The team is going for a more older look. It is set in Naboki Cho period, which occurred in like mid 1300s. From the background alone / art direction, you can see they're going for a paint-like look to it. I don't know if they're actually going for that style because they can actually make very detailed backgrounds. From the stuff like the art director and the director of photography, they can make very detailed backgrounds from their previous works by family. It is set in older times, but it doesn't have that feeling of oldness, which there's nothing wrong with that. I'm not saying like, oh my god, this doesn't feel like old anime. I hate when isekai blah blah blah. More apparent is the overall coloring and compositing to make things look more older, the colors are less saturated, very one-dimensional. Not like Kagenashi, but like color palette wise, it's more softer. With the style too, sometimes it can just look like a Ghibli movie. Talking more about the animation and overall direction for this show is definitely amazing. There's a lot of visual storytelling in the 3 episodes that's out right now, and the best thing is that the team can let their creative juices flow with the different stylistic choices that they're going for. They're not constrained on one consistent visual style, which, you know, it's not a bad thing mostly. You can see different episodes that the episode directors slash storyboarders have different traits. Episode 1 has a more emphasis on the coloring, setting the tone of the scene, and there's a sense of atmospheric vibe in the episode. Episode 2 had the visual slash animation tell you what's happening with the different art styles, and also using like game show things to explain stuff. And episode 3 uses old like drawings, I don't know what it's called, but it also uses like continuating shots with the characters, consistent with the shot composition, but cuts to different backgrounds. Again, I don't know what it's called. I'll call it... I can't think of something funny. Again, animation power is very strong for this show. While episode 3 was weaker compared to episode 1 and 2, but it is still at a level where they animate the most random stuff, like Ayako climbing up with a fluid nature and gets across the weight of her steps. There's also other cuts like the rain scene, which is amazing with the background animation and animating the rain that looks more condensed, and with the boar scene, again, crazy background animation. Of course, everything surrounding them is top notch. I've probably said this before, but having great compositing, art direction, and the other stuff makes it more appealing to watch. Take like Oshinoko, it doesn't have much movement for the season yet, hopefully, but everything surrounding it makes it visually very appealing to look at. Episode 1 really showcased the character acting prowess, the movement, drawing quality, shading work, and sometimes can have complex perspective but still pulling it off. This team always have animators just animating long sequences, even for the most mundane stuff. That's why it consistently moves and looks good. You can just look back. One person can just animate a whole 1 or 2 minute sequence for them just walking or doing, I don't know, cutting themselves. Okay, cut that out. Of course, I already talked about how technically impressive it is. It's also crazy that some of these animators I've never heard of, but still animating big portions like Yusei Komoto, Mari Tomita, Shichiza Nishiya, and some others. Of course, you have veteran animators like Toshiki Sato, Akira Hamaguchi, Keisuke Kobayashi, and others. I guess we have an indicator why Kenji Sawada is not the main animator for Oshinoko Season 2, since he's working with this team, which he's quite involved. The action part for episode 1, again, love the desaturated coloring to mix with the dark tone. There's so much moving parts, having more than just one character on screen. The character acting and clothing just keeps moving. It's just crazy. The storyboards are great and it's not overbearing. You can see everything that's happening. Tokiyuki dodging everything, even there's a big quantity of characters. The style change at the end was very cool. Episode 2 is definitely the most visually pleasing episode so far. Directed and storyboarded by Yusuke Kawakami. The style change is crazy, letting these animators do what they want. The amount of visual storytelling and ideas put in this episode is some of the most ambitious things I've seen this year. While accompanying that with a lot of movement, the normal scene still looks great and the styles that they used is fantastic. Maiko Kobayashi with this Shinra Ohira style, he doesn't animate like Ohira from his other works. It's very obvious that he's referencing his work with the smearing, fire effects, and the line work. I mean, look at this cut. What the fuck, man? The way that they draw the uncle really makes him look more crazy and devilish with the crazy amount of messy line art put on him. This sequence by Akira Hamaguchi, so much line work and the expressions is so good. Hamaguchi can really make characters so expressive. We saw it in the previous episode with Yorishige. And this cut, amazing way to emphasize on the thick line work to convey more of the knockback. While there is limited cuts, but who really cares? The storyboards is nice. There's a lot of camera work and dynamic shots. So Miyazaki part, the purple impact frames and the speed, using this brush paint like style to make the characters more loose. And I like that Miyazaki still added Tokiyuki blushing even in this style. I mean, just very appealing to watch. Hayate Nakamura with the Kaganeshi style and a brighter color palette. This sequence too, again, very loose with the background animated in a unique style. It looks very uncomposited. I'm saying that as a compliment. Also love the end scene where Tokiyuki said it'll make for a souvenir for revenging his family, and we got the continuing scene with Tokiyuki's brother. Rather than showing his brother's head, it's the uncle's, and Tokiyuki is picking up the ball to visualize that it's the uncle's head. Of course, I can't talk about everything. There's a lot of stuff, but I tried to include most of the important things. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you guys like this video, leave a like. If you hate it, leave a like. Comment down below what are your thoughts about this series. And yeah, hope you guys enjoyed the video. See you guys next time.